Hello everyone, it's me, Scripted Fear here. I wasn't sure if I should share this, but it's been eating at me. It's not one of those horror stories passed around in pubs or pulled from Reddit. This actually happened in a quiet English town, just like the one you might live in. It happened to me, to my best mate. And to this day, I'm not sure if the world we live in is even what we think it is. This is the story of how my friend Kai disappeared, right after we saw something in the sky that should never have been there. I was 16 at the time. Summer break. You know that weird freedom when school's out, but your brain still feels caged? That was us. Just two bored kids in a sleepy English town with more sheep than people, more fog than sunshine. Kai and I did everything together. We were tight, the kind of friendship that doesn't need talking. We just bike around for hours, kick at rocks, talk about bands, games, and how dead our town felt. But something changed that summer. It started with a weird silence. Like the birds weren't chirping as loud. Like something was watching. You know when you feel like you're in the middle of something big, but you're the last one to realize it? It was a Thursday night. I remember because Kai had snuck a can of cider from his brother's stash. We were up on Garrow Hill. This old patch of farmland turned into a half-abandoned park. It had a busted fence and an old watchtower nobody used anymore. That's where we'd hang out and look at the stars, pretend we were free. That night the sky was too clear, like someone had wiped it clean. No clouds, just stars, bright cold stars. And then it moved. At first I thought it was a plane, but it didn't blink. It hovered, dead still, then darted like it jumped space from one spot to another in half a second. No sound, no trail, just this glowing orb that didn't follow physics. It pulsed once, twice, then split into three. Kai stood up. "You seeing this?" he whispered. I could barely nod. My mouth went dry. It wasn't fear. It was something colder, like the air itself had turned on us. The three lights circled, slowly, before merging back into one. And just as suddenly, it shot up and vanished. We sat in stunned silence. I remember shaking. Not visibly, but something in my bones felt wrong. Like we'd seen something no one was meant to. I knew something was off with Kai before he said a word. The way he looked at me after that night wasn't just silence. It was like I wasn't registering to him the same way anymore. Like I was a reflection he wasn't sure he trusted. He stopped making eye contact, started blinking less. You ever see someone blink wrong? Like too slow, like they're imitating a human but not getting the timing right? That's what it was like. And then there was the humming. He'd sit in class and hum, low and steady, like a motor idling in his chest. You could barely hear it, but if you sat close like I did, it crawled under your skin. The weirdest part? He didn't even seem to notice he was doing it. I remember one day after school, I cornered him outside the lockers. Said, "Mate, what happened that night?" He didn't answer. He just stared past me. Not like he was ignoring me, like he was listening to something. Something far away. His nose started bleeding. Just a single line down his upper lip, like a wire that snapped under tension. Then he said it. The first thing he'd said to me in days. "It's not light. It's sound folded into color." And I laughed. Nervously, of course. Thought he was trying to mess with me. But his face stayed blank. His eyes weren't blinking. He just whispered, "They know you were there too." After that, I started hearing the same humming in my sleep. But what really scared me was his drawings. See, Kai was never the artsy type. Couldn't sketch a stick figure without it looking drunk. But suddenly, he was filling notebooks with perfect diagrams. Clean geometry, spirals that never ended, constellations I couldn't match to any known star charts. One page had a shape that looked like a three-dimensional triangle. Impossible to draw, but somehow he did. Every time I stared at it, I got this throbbing behind my eyes. Like my brain wanted to reject it. And in the margins, he'd scribbled phrases over and over. Through silence comes the call. They don't take you. They tune you. I am Kai, but Kai is not here. I asked his mom about it once. She said he wouldn't speak at dinner anymore. Just sat there tapping his fork 3 times, then his glass, then his plate in that same pattern. Over and over. 3, 1, 2. I looked it up later. It's not Morse. It's not any known code, but it's consistent, structured, intentional. He was becoming something else, and I don't think he wanted to. I remember the exact day Kai vanished. It was a Tuesday, cold, gray, and mean. The kind of weather that settles in your bones and makes everything feel just off. He hadn't shown up to school that morning, and that was strange enough. Even when he was weird, he was always present. Like something was compelling him to be among us, even if he wasn't with us. But that day, nothing. The teachers brushed it off, said he was probably homesick. But I knew. Something had shifted, something final. After class, I went straight to his house. I didn't call. I didn't knock. I just walked in. His mom was in the kitchen, frozen at the sink, water overflowing from a glass in her hand. She looked at me like I wasn't real, like she couldn't process what was in front of her. And she said it without turning her head. He's gone. He's not missing. He's just not here anymore. That's all she said. Nothing more. Then she dropped the glass. It didn't shatter. It just hit the floor with a dull, wet thud. Kai's room looked like he'd been studying something. Maps, books, old satellite photos, all spread across his floor and pinned to his wall. But the centerpiece was this huge, hand-drawn map of our town. Only not how it is now. It was older, like 1800s or something. But overlaid on it were coordinates, dates, and tiny red XS. All over the countryside, all leading to one place. A field outside town. Crooked Hill. The one kids used to dare each other to walk past at night. The one, they said, even the sheep avoided. The air in his room smelled like ozone. Sharp, electric, like the moment before lightning strikes. My skin prickled just standing there. There was a sound too, so faint I thought it was in my head. A high-pitched tone, barely audible. Like pressure, and the window was open. Just a crack. There were footprints on the windowsill, small, bare feet, but not Kai's. Too narrow, too long. And the toes? They didn't look right. I turned to leave and saw one final thing on his desk, a folded note, handwritten in blocky, uneven letters. This is an abduction. This is migration. That night, the sky lit up again. A silent flash, deep blue and violet, rolled across the horizon. It didn't light the clouds. It bent them, like the sky was folding inward on itself. And then all the power in town went out. No lights. No phones, no time. When it came back, 37 minutes later, Kai's house was empty. Entirely empty. No furniture, no worspanti, no beds, no food in the fridge. Just a hollow shell of a house, like no one had lived there for years. Like it had been rotting in silence this whole time, and I'd somehow walked through a memory. And here's the part that chills me the most. I asked the neighbors the next morning if they'd seen Kai. You know what they said? Kai who? They didn't remember him. Not his face, not his voice, not his mom. Nothing. I even showed them pictures. Group photos with him in it. They'd look right at him and say, "Is that your cousin?" No one knew him anymore, except me. And that meant one thing. Whatever they are, they don't just take people. They erase them. They try to wipe him out. Not just take him, erase him. But that's the thing about stories. If someone remembers, really remembers, they don't die easy. Not in the mind. Not in the dark. I couldn't let it go. Wouldn't. I started digging. Online forums, public archives, fringe radio stations, even old CB chatter. I posted Kai's photo everywhere I could. Not his real name, of course. By then, even typing Kai into any database just gave you a blank screen. Like he'd been blacklisted from existence. Like reality had black-holed him. But that face? That never left me. Burnt Dust's audience is small but loyal. So I threw it out there, buried inside a 3-hour podcast on UFO silent zones. Just a whisper. If you've seen this boy, or remember Crooked Hill, contact me, privately. 3 days passed. Nothing. Then the messages started. First was a voicemail from an unlisted number. Just static and heavy breathing. But behind it, layered deep in the noise, there was this hum. Same pitch I'd heard in Kai's room. I ran it through a spectrogram. It spelled out coordinates. I followed them, of course. It led me to a field in Wiltshire, not far from one of those ancient stone circles no one talks about, because it isn't Stonehenge. You wouldn't even notice it unless you were looking for it. Half the stones are buried, but they hum, just under hearing. At the center was a patch of scorched earth. No fire, no us, just burnt. Black glass fused into the ground like lightning had kissed it from the inside. And there, placed neatly in the center, was a cassette tape, wrapped in wool, tied with fishing wire. I took it home, risked everything just pressing play. At first, nothing. Then whispers, words in reverse. I flipped the audio and slowed it. It was Kai. I'm not gone. Not dead. Just not here anymore. They heard me thinking. They knew I knew. That's how they find you. Through thought. If you remember, they'll come. Forget me. Please. Forget. Then the tape melted. In real time, the plastic bubbled and curled in my deck like it had been doused in acid. Smoke poured from the machine. My whole flat filled with that same ozone scent. I couldn't breathe for a second. But here's the kicker. When the smoke cleared, the tape was gone. I mean gone. Not destroyed. Not melted. Just not there. And I wasn't alone in the room anymore. My cat, Percy, was staring into the corner of the ceiling. Eyes wide. Back arched. Hissing. There was a shape there. I swear to you, just for a second, darker than the shadows around it. Like a void in motion. Then it was gone. So I packed up my rig, left town, and I've been on the move ever since. Broadcasting from safe spots. Forest abandoned cars. Desert valleys where the air's too dry to carry signals. But they're still listening. I know because sometimes when I speak Kai's name, the static gets louder. Like they're leaning in. So now I don't just investigate this stuff. I archive it. Record what they don't want you to remember. Because if I don't, no one will. About 2 weeks later, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. Just static. Then a clicking sound, rhythmic pattern. It lasted 12 seconds. I ran it through audio software. The clicks matched a binary code. When translated, it spelled out one word. Observer. I never told anyone. Not my parents. Not the cops. But that was the last straw. I burned every one of Kai's drawings. Wiped my phone. And I stopped going out at night. But deep down, I knew what happened. Kai didn't run away. He didn't get kidnapped. He was taken. But not by anything we have a name for. It's been 4 months since Kai vanished. The police gave up. His mom stopped answering the door. Our school held a memorial, even though there was no body. Just an empty chair. His name etched on a brass plaque that means nothing. But I never stopped looking. I kept going back to Garrow Hill. Same spot. Same stars. Hoping I'd see those lights again. Not because I wanted answers. I think part of me wanted to be taken too. Or maybe I just couldn't stand being the one left behind. Then something changed. One night, I saw someone standing near the old watchtower. Not moving, just watching me. I shouted. No response. I stepped closer, and they stepped back. Not scared, just calculated. I ran, full sprint, and by the time I got there, nothing. Just footprints in the mud. But they weren't human. 3 toes. Long, like a bird's claw. Only heavier. Deeper. Something had stood there. Something that walked on 2 legs, but didn't belong on this earth. 2 days later, I found something on my bedroom windowsill. A feather. Long, silver. Metallic. It shimmered under the light like oil on water. Cold to the touch. I didn't tell anyone. Just kept in a drawer, buried under old shirts. That night, my window opened by itself. I swear to you, the lock was still on. But it clicked open like someone knew the mechanism from the inside. I didn't sleep. Just sat there, holding a flashlight and that feather. At 3:03 a.m., my phone lit up. New message. No number. It said, Garrow Hill. Midnight. Bring nothing. I should have ignored it. I didn't. I snuck out and biked to the hill. It was freezing, foggy, still like the whole world was holding its breath. The old watchtower loomed in the dark. As I got closer, I saw a light pulsing at the top. Not a fire, not a flashlight, something humming. When I climbed the steps, the air turned thick, heavy, like gravity had been tampered with. At the top, I found a circle burned into the wood floor. Not with fire, with heat, like a branding iron had etched a perfect ring. And in the center of it was Kai's phone, still charged, still warm. The screen was on, a note app open. One sentence typed. It's not a ship. It's a door. Since that night, I've changed too. I hear things before they happen. Static in my ears when someone's lying. I feel vibrations in the ground like a second heartbeat. Sometimes, I wake up miles from home with no memory of walking. Last week, I woke up in a field near the radio tower. On my arm, written in something like ash, was a set of coordinates. They led to an abandoned research facility 30 miles away. Fenced off, warning signs everywhere. But here's the thing, that place isn't on any map, not even Google Earth. It's like it's been erased. Inside, I found cages, big ones, metal reinforced, empty, but the walls, they had symbols. The same ones Kai used to draw. Spirals, triangles within triangles. A language that hums if you stare at it too long. And on one of the walls, scratched deep into the metal, Observer 212 failed containment. I think we were part of something. Not chosen, not abducted, just noticed. The lights, the dreams, the messages, they weren't mistakes. They were steps, like an infection spreading awareness. Once you see them, they see you. I think Kai went further than I did. Crossed over somehow, opened the door too wide. And I think, I'm next. Lately, the dreams have changed. I don't see Kai anymore. I see myself in that silver room, surrounded by others. Not human, not alive in the way we understand it. They hum, they speak in pulses, and they're waiting. I don't know how long I have. I just know this. If you ever see lights that don't move like anything else, if you dream of silver rooms and wake up with ash on your hands, if you get a call with no voice, only clicks, don't answer. Don't go to the coordinates. Don't follow the signal. Because this isn't about aliens. It's not visitors or invaders. It's about thresholds, doors that shouldn't be opened, frequencies that our minds were never meant to tune into. And Kai, I think he opened that door too wide. Now, something is coming through. I followed the coordinates burned into that cassette spectrogram. I didn't sleep, didn't eat, just packed my gear, told no one, and drove out into the English countryside until I found myself staring at a long-forgotten stretch of land on the outskirts of town. It was quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that feels intentional, like the land itself doesn't want to be noticed. At the edge of a hollowed-out field stood a single collapsed farmhouse, eaten by ivy and silence. No power lines, no mail, just rot and time. But someone had been there recently. I found footprints in the dirt. Small ones, barefoot, and then, under the broken porch, wedged between two rotted boards, I found a child's backpack. It was Kai's, the same one from the police flyer. Still had his name tag stitched inside. Still had a half-finished drawing, a boy standing under a triangle in the sky, arms lifted. I went inside. The smell hit first, metallic damp. Not quite blood, but not blood either. Dust hung thick in the air, but there were trails through it, like something or someone had been dragging feet across the wooden floor. In the living room, I found something impossible. A wall covered in hundreds of Polaroid photos. All them kids, not just Kai, dozens of others. Different years, different styles. But every child was standing in the exact same position, arms lifted toward the sky, staring at something just out of frame. Some of the photos were recent. Some are decades old. I couldn't breathe. Something about the house made my vision swim. Like the pressure in my skull was changing, like a storm was rolling in, but inside me. I backed out. I didn't even take anything. Just snapped my own photo, turned, and ran. When I looked back, I swear to you, the door had closed behind me, and I never touched it. When I got back home, I started sorting through the audio on the camera mic. The wind had made most of it useless, except one file. Well, I didn't record. It was titled Session 7KI, 18 minutes long, date stamped 2 nights ago. I hit play. The voice wasn't mine. It started with static, low, rhythmic, almost patterned. Then a child's voice. I saw the triangle again. It followed me into the field. A second voice responded. Flat, robotic. What did it say? That I don't belong here, that the skin I wear is too loud. The static flared, and then, I swear on everything, the child's voice changed. Mid-sentence, it deepened, slowed, like someone was wearing Kai's voice, stretching it like wet fabric. They're watching you two now, it said. They don't like that you found the house. I paused the file. I backed away from my laptop, and as I did, the lights in my room dimmed, and my speakers whispered a single word. Not in English, not in any language I know, but I felt it in my spine. That word didn't belong on Earth. I needed to get this out before I forget everything. Before whatever's inside me takes over. Before they decide I'm done being useful. So, if I disappear next, if one day my channel goes dark and you never hear from me again, remember this story, because the next one they take might be someone you know, and they won't leave a trace. They told the town to move on. That cow is just gone, but stories like his don't end. They wait for someone to listen, to believe. If you're still here, then maybe you're part of this now. Hit subscribe, not for me, but for the next poor soul who needs a warning. Because whatever came for Kai, it remembers names.